Hey everyone, Miss Dempsey here. This is a lap guide for a Suzuka circuit with the XANAVI NISMO GTR. Let's get this started. What you want to do for these first two turns is to brake continuously until you reach the end of the second turn. So you'll be using the path that is on the left as your braking point, and you'll be controlling your braking input. Just use some braking power along the way so you can slow down while still being able to turn in. Bring yourself to the inside of the second turn and use the end of the curb that is on the right as your accelerating point. For the S's, all you need to do is do some throttle control. Just make sure that you don't make too much contact with the grass. Then you'll be using a little bit of your braking power for this turn, and you just want to stay on the inside of the turn. Stay on the right side of the track, that way you can set yourself up for this turn. So you'll be easing off the throttle, then use the middle of the curb on the left as your apex, that way you can just fully accelerate through the rest of this turn. Use the 50-meter sign as your next braking point, and you'll be using some of your braking power so you can slow down while still being able to turn. Then brake before the curb on the left ends and just focus on getting the car to rotate before you start to fully accelerate. Do not get too much on the AstroTurf as that will force your car to go wide. Then brake the moment the curb on the right ends, and once again you just want to focus on getting your car to rotate as quickly as possible. You'll be going down to first gear, so you want to make sure you straighten out your car before you start to fully accelerate. For this turn, you'll be braking when you reach the path that is on the right. Brake hard for a moment, then ease off on the brakes as you turn in. Fully accelerate for a short moment, and before the curb on the right ends, you want to use a little bit more braking. Just stay on the inside of the track, and when the curb on the left ends, you can slowly start to accelerate. And once again, do not get on the AstroTurf that was on the right, as that will slow you down and potentially make your car lose control. You can gently start to turn in when you reach the 50-meter mark, but make sure you don't ease off the throttle as this turn can easily be taken at full throttle. Then brake in between the 150 and the 100-meter mark. Brake as much as you can, take advantage of the curbs, carefully accelerate your way out. If you know you have a good time, stay on the inside. If you want to do another lap, stay on the outside, that way you can gather a bit more speed. But that's all for the lap guide. Let's go ahead and talk about the strategies. Alright, so for this race, I'm sticking with the XANAVI NISMO GTR just because this car is pretty darn fast, and at least for me, this car is one of the easier Group 2 cars to use. So for this race, there are two strategies that are worth looking at. The first strategy is where you start on racing medium tires, switch on over to racing medium tires again after 5 laps, then switch on over to racing hard tires after another 5 laps. The second strategy is where you start on racing medium tires, then switch on over to racing hard tires after 6 laps. You don't waste that much time when you're in the pit stop. The moment the pit stop animation starts to the moment that you regain control of your car, you've spent just under 10 seconds. The actual pit stop, so when your pit route is changing your tires, is around 4 seconds, so a 2 stop is definitely viable. But is it better than the 1 stop? I'm going to go with yes, because even though you're doing 2 pit stops, you're still going to get faster times on the racing medium tires, because don't forget, 2 of the 3 stints that you'll be using are with racing medium tires. And when you're pitting in to change your tires after 5 laps, the racing medium tires, they're already at the point where they're getting pretty sketchy, so you don't have to worry about doing another lap compared to the first one on the racing medium tires. Because if you've tried the second strategy where you're on racing medium tires for 6 laps, when you're on the 6th lap with the racing medium tires, the car just feels really sketchy, and you just want to be very careful because one little mistake can potentially cause the car to want to do all sorts of silly things. That, and there's also the time falling off, so it's going to be pretty noticeable. And when you're under racing hard tires, you have to be pretty careful with what you do. So you're going to, of course, get slower times because there's not as much grip on racing hard tires compared to racing medium tires. So your times will be slower, and if you spend 7 laps with those tires, your time's going to be a little bit slower overall. And with the first strategy, you're only spending 3 laps with racing hard tires, so I'd rather take that than have to deal with racing hard tires for 7 laps. However, there are a couple things that you need to keep in mind. The first one is that whenever you're behind someone, you're going to be getting the slipstream, so your car is not going to be getting the downforce it needs to go through some of these turns at high rates of speed, so you're more likely to end up scrubbing your tires, which will increase your tire wear. And if your tires are melting off because of that, the first strategy sounds like a better one to go with. The other thing is that with the first strategy, if you're in a race where people don't know about it and go with the second strategy, you do risk pitting out into the traffic, so you want to be a little careful about that and just hope that you don't get punted off into Neptune. In terms of fuel, if you're behind someone for a good while, you don't have to worry about refueling. If you're by yourself for a majority of the time, you also don't have to worry about refueling, but you will be on the verge of running out of fuel at the very end of the race. So if you feel a little worried that you might end up running out of fuel at the very end of the race, just do a little bit of short shifting here and there throughout the race and you should be fine. But anyways, that's all for this guide. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.